art students, this is Miss Alsabrook, and I wanted to share with you how to begin your Cityscape project in Inkscape. You're going to start by drawing a horizon line, and again we're going to be using layers. So I'm going to start with, it already has my root layer here, but I'm going to start by adding a layer. So I'm going to add a layer, and I'm going to call this layer horizon. We want to have the ability to move these things around and eventually delete our perspective lines that we're going to be using. So this is my horizon, so I'm going to add this. Now I'm going to pick the pencil tool. I'm going to pick a spot, any old spot. Thirds are usually good. I'm going to pick a spot on here, click once, try to get that parallel to the bottom, click a second time, and there's your horizon line. Now we're going to add another layer, and if you have the layers open on the right hand side, select the plus and it'll automatically bring up a new layer. And we're going to label this one perspective lines. This is the layer that we're going to delete when we're finished so that your perspective lines won't show. So I'm going to add that layer. Now I'm working on the perspective lines layer. Now we're going to be working in two-point perspective. And so to draw a building in two-point perspective, your leading edge of your building will be a line that is perpendicular to your horizon line, and that's going to be a corner. Then I'm going to be working towards some arbitrary point on my horizon line. It could be off of your paper. Depends on how steep you want your perspective. But all of your lines on the left side will head to this vanishing point and go to the corners of these vertical lines. And then everything to the right will go to the vanishing point on the horizon line, the other side. Any line that extends above the horizon line, you won't be able to see the top of the building. So let me show you on this one. Again, I'm dropping a vertical line. I'm cutting out my building here. So here's one building. If I want to have another building a little bit farther back from it, I can put in another vertical line. But the top of my building will go, the left side will go to that vanishing point. Top will go, right side will go to the right vanishing point. And again, I have to drop some verticals in order to get the look that I want. Now, it's going to start looking confusing if we start adding too many. Let's put in a little sidewalk here. And you can go past your screen if you wish to extend it beyond that, but there's a sidewalk for my town. I could even put in the very little edge of my sidewalk, like a curb, and drop that in like this. Again, every single line is going to recede back to that vanishing point. And that's how we get the illusion of three-dimensionality. That includes windows, and even trees will go back following that line, assuming they're all the same height. Okay? This is a big trick for your brain. This is how some of those optical illusions that we've seen work, because your brain automatically knows that when we visualize things, this is the way they appear. Okay, so now I'm done with some perspective lines. Now I'm going to add the shape layer. You're going to draw your buildings using and modifying shapes and filling those shapes with a variety of different tints and shades. So let's add a layer, and this layer we're going to call shapes. Oops. This layer we will call shapes. Okay, so this is my shapes layer, and working in that shapes layer, I'm going to go over here and select the rectangle tool. Now, if you'll notice underneath the rectangle tool, there is a way to create 3D boxes of all different shapes and sizes from different perspective points. Okay, this is what you are doing is what this is doing automatically. These are not easy to change the color on, and so I want you guys to have the experience of drawing these things yourself. So please do the perspective lines, but if you want to take a look at these and kind of see how they're drawn, if you're a little bit confused about it, these could be a great aid, but please draw them without using this particular tool. All right, so I'm going to pick the shapes layer here, and I'm going to click on one of the corners here. Now, this is going to make a rectangle. Now, this is one of the good things about this exercise is I really want you to see the different shapes that are involved. Our brains think that we're looking at rectangles, but we're looking at rectangles that are receding back into the distance. So I'm going to alter this rectangle, and I'm going to do that by clicking on this Edit Paths by Nodes, which is F2 in your quick keys. Click on that. Then up here, there's one that looks like a figure 8, which is Shift-Control-C, at least on a Mac. But I'm just going to click on that. Now I have these nodes that I can move and stretch, and I'm going to fit that shape onto the lines that I created. Now I have to think about where my light source is coming from. Is my light source from the right or from the left? Well, I think I'm going to have the light source kind of coming from the front and to the right. And so, I'm going to have this side be a darker color, and of course I can adjust those colors by just clicking on these tools down here. Now, if you would like for your shape to have color, you can select a color here and pick a hue if we are lucky here. So if I wanted to do it all in various shades of yellow, I could do that by adjusting these here. Now, if you choose to do that in color, you may want to use a value strip and put those colors on your screen so that you can pick off of them. So let's just do that really quickly. I'm going to make a new layer. Add a layer and call this one colors. And my colors layer, I'm going to have this for my one value, and then I'm going to create a box for another value. Now here's what I can do. I'm going to go back into this thing where it says fill and stroke, and I'm going to select a lighter hue and put that in there. My goal is to create 5 different values at least. Probably won't need to use all those, but let's make one that's a little bit lighter now. And I'll show you why this is helpful in just a minute. I'll do another one. You could just duplicate these boxes. That would probably be easier. Need to improve my workflow here. All right, so there's a lighter color, so you kind of get the idea. So now what I can do when I create a shape, so remember this is not the layer that I'm working on. I want to go back to my shapes layer. When I create a shape that needs to be lighter, well, this one's already lighter, we'll change it. Okay, again, I'm going to go to the Edit Paths by Nodes, stretch that in to position where it needs to be on the corners, just making it fit. Let's say I don't want that color, I want it to be a lighter color. So all I have to do is take my eyedropper and click on that, and it will automatically change my color. Okay? So making a little color swatch like this can be very helpful, and that way you know you're always using the same tints and shades. So if you choose not to use ones that are on the palette, you might want to select your own and make your own value strip. Okay, so let's make that one the lightest value here. Oops, I gotta go back to my... And I don't know why it's not switching now. Oh, because I switched the color. Ah, go back. All right, so I'm gonna go to my shapes layer and click on that. Well, here I try and give you a helpful hint. It doesn't work. There we go, I gotta select it. There, okay, gotta be selected. Nothing like watching it all happen in real time. All right, so let's look at how to do one that's behind another one. All right, so click on my tool again. This one is gonna be behind. Now what I'm gonna do, because these are all just stacked on top of each other, I can take and just scoot that one out of the way for the time being. And I'm gonna stretch and move this one using that node tool again, just like we did before, except I have to select the right one. Come here. There. Now I'm going to stretch this one down to the horizon line as if, well, let's see, it really needs to go back this way towards its own vanishing point. So I'm going to stretch and pull that this way, and that little box can help. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer things on top, and I also want to change the color of this one because that is not the color I want. I want this darker shade, so let's change that to that darker shade. Now, what I can do is go back and get this one and move it back into position, and I can reorder these by selecting these tools up here. I'm going to bring this one up a layer. So now I've actually moved that in front. So I think you can see that this is the way you can work through this. Now once I've finished making my basic shapes, then I can add another layer to add details. When I'm finished with it, I can remove this perspective line, and then my buildings will be there without those perspective lines. Please add sky and ground, all kinds of details to your city and make it uniquely yours. Thank you for watching and have fun with this assignment. See you next time. Bye.